Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Rank. I am your host, Troy Rank, columnist for the Denver Post. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. This pod drops on Tuesday because the Broncos did not play on Sunday, obviously, had a mini bye, if you will. And it's only, in face of the biggest game in 10 years, the biggest game since probably at that stadium since 2000. Well, technically it was 2016, but the 2015 season AFC Championship against the Patriots to go to Super Bowl 50. This game has those kind of stakes minus the postseason lose and go home. It's not a knockout game, but it in some ways is, because if you beat the Chiefs and you're the Broncos, you go up ahead 3.5 games. You've got a huge, huge possibility to then win the division. 3.5 games with 6 games remaining. It would be almost impossible for the Chiefs to catch the Broncos. So you can't undersell this game. You can't overstate its importance for the Broncos if they want to win the AFC West. Now, the Chargers are still involved too. Certainly can't dismiss this, especially because Jim Harbaugh's undefeated against Sean Payton in 3 games since taking over the Chargers. But Broncos lead them as well. Chargers coming off an impressive victory over the Steelers on Sunday, just absolutely mauling Aaron Rodgers and that offense. But Broncos, in every way, folks, control their destiny. But what set up as this huge week took a backstage to getting clobbered by reality. Alex Singleton revealed on social media that he received a cancer diagnosis, testicular cancer, played on Thursday, had surgery on Friday. He's going to be out a few weeks, but man, what a courageous stance by Singleton. What it means for him to have played in that game, where we go forward with that. But I want to hit on that first, then look at what are some of the offensive issues perhaps they addressed during the mini bye. And then we finish with Patrick Mahomes versus that Vance Joseph defense. A little glimpse as to why, even with Pat Surtain out, the Broncos defense should be able to at least, give Patrick Mahomes some fits. Doesn't mean they'll, control him throughout the game. And all, I'm not saying that, but they should be able to give him fits. So we want to come back from the break. We're going to talk about Alex Singleton's courage. Can they fix some of these offensive issues, and what makes the Broncos confident with their defense, even without Pat Surtain unlikely to play against the Chiefs? We're going to get to all of it after this quick break. Have you been injured in a car wreck or hurt at work? What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Hoggatt Injury Law a call. Their motto with us, it's personal. It's because it is. Known Darby forever. Darby Hoggatt is a good man. He's a good friend. Many of his clients become his good friend. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. Like, this is how it goes. If your case goes as planned, Darby's going to be the one writing the check to you. So again, if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, why don't you give Darby's team a call? That number, 1-833-HOGGATT, and you see it on the screen for YouTube, 1-833-464-4288, or visit the website at hoggattlaw.com. Welcome back to the Broncos Pod. I'm your host, Troy Rink from the Denver Post, columnist. Hope you're reading all my stuff. We're going to have a bunch of stuff this week, myself included. I had a piece last week on Rink and File about Bo Nix regressing and Sean Payton failing him. Give that a read if you can. I'm not down on Bo Nix in that way. I still believe this kid can lead them to an AFC West title and lead them to where they want to go. He's got to play better. Sean Payton's got to make the fit better. You can't play offensively the way they're playing to win these games. But the more salient issue popped up on Monday with Alex Singleton revealing on social media that he received a cancer diagnosis. So he went in, he had a random NFL drug test, and during that he had high levels of specific stuff that made doctors suspicious maybe something's going on. And Singleton even admitted that, it's almost implying you've got testosterone levels and stuff going on that you'd be injecting or taking a substance that could put you in jeopardy. And he's like, no, that's not it. I know everything going on in my body. Let's run more tests. In doing so, doctors reveal a testicular cancer diagnosis. Singleton gets that official diagnosis, according to his timeline, on last Monday. So 8 days ago from today. He decides at that point to let his wife and the doctors take care of everything, and he wants to play on Thursday. So not only does he take this diagnosis in, which, you hear that word. I mean, I would imagine Broncos country You know someone affected by cancer. I have friends affected by it. I've lost relatives to it, loved ones. I mean, it's just an awful, awful disease. And when you hear that word, it's hard not to be scared. It's hard not to, be, it's jarring in every way imaginable. So he gets the diagnosis on Monday, makes the decision to let his wife, the doctors, kind of take care of things, and he's decided I want to play on Friday, which obviously the doctors let him know that he can and not, have any other thing happen necessarily. So he plays on Friday and he has 9 tackles. He plays out of his mind. He's played much better these last few weeks, as you can tell. His knee, the ACL that he played through. He played. So that's what I'm going to say here. Like, let's look at the Alex Singleton arc here. Singleton was a special teams guy, Canadian Football League, special teams guy at the Eagles, joins the Broncos several years ago as a kind of going to special teams guy. It's going to be a core guy on that unit. Forces his way to the lineup. Has had some of the largest tackle games in the history of the franchise. We get to last year, early in the season. It's like the third offensive play of the game for the Bucs on an interception by Brandon Jones, and Singleton tears his ACL, plays the remainder of the game. Obviously, it was tore in a way that allowed him to move to still be competitive. I mean, there's guys that would love to play through an ACL that just can't. It's so loose with the knee and the kneecap, you can't play. Singleton, obviously it hurt. He knew something happened, but he's able to play. I saw him in the locker room after that game. Didn't say a word. Walked around. He celebrated with his teammates who thought everything was normal. Has ACL surgery. Gets back with the team. He's with the team in West Virginia. He's back with the team. Here's a guy that's still signing autographs before games. He's still involved. He's still involved in meetings. He's doing everything that you'd want out of a great teammate, a captain, a leader. So we flash forward to this season. Now he's coming off the first surgery of his career. He's an older player. What's it going to look like? Early in the season, it didn't look great. He was definitely knocking rust off with that ACL. And there's very few players that get criticized on social media like Singleton because of that. And he keeps grinding. He keeps getting healthier. And as he gets further removed from surgery, he gets better. And he's played some of his best games of the season in the last few games. And he certainly played a great game against the Raiders. But he makes the decision that I'm going to play through this. I'm going to play through this situation. Through the knee, and then obviously the cancer diagnosis. And what makes it remarkable, like if you step back and just kind of take Monday in for a moment and kind of look at the timeline and why I think we need to make sure and give credit to Singleton. He learns of the official diagnosis on Monday. He plays in a game Friday, plays well. Monday morning, he addresses the team, the entire team, says, hey, this is what happened. This is what I'm going through, and I want to make sure you guys are all aware of it, and I plan to be back this season. There's no real timeline. They can't say that. He definitely wants to play again during the regular season and, of course, the playoffs. And reminding his teammates that you try to remove the stigma of it. I want to be upfront about it. It's stunning. It's jarring. It's scary, and he wants to remove that. And then he goes on and becomes an advocate for it, does a press conference on Monday, conference call, and talks about the importance of if him coming forward can save one life, what that would mean. And this just shows you the type of person he is. He's already been a champion in the community with Special Olympics. He's connected to it through his sister. But I've been at golf tournaments with Alex. I've seen him he's just a good dude. He gets it. He's kind of living this dream of being a professional football player that he always wanted. And he lets people feel connected to that. And the number of well wishes and prayers and good vibes sent his way when I posted this on Facebook and Twitter was amazing. And good for you, Broncos country, for understanding that, separating the football side out and understanding the person. And so we want to send all that to Alex. And I want him, you want him to feel like there's a community behind him that wants him to come back and first and foremost be healthy. And if able, play football again this season. But let's hear part of his press conference on Monday, and you can hear the raw tone in his voice of how fresh this is. So let's hear part of that press conference on Monday. Alex Singleton talking about the diagnosis, what it means going forward, and why it was important for him to become a public figure in this fight to kind of help remove the stigma and help others. Let's hear from Alex Singleton.
It's been a whirlwind, I would say. I don't necessarily even know if I fully have coped with everything that's gone on. I found out Monday afternoon what it fully was, and that I was going to have surgery this past Friday. And so, it was nice, between the doctors and then the team and the medical staff, I was able to they took on all the pressure, and my wife, they kind of took on all the pressure of planning all the doctor's appointments and surgery planning and all that. So I was able to, which is what I wanted to do, was just focus on football for the week, for the Thursday game, and just kind of not let it change my life yet, if that makes sense, because it's still so shocking. And so, they were also good about that. It's been a whirlwind. Today obviously is, and the surgery went really well. So I'm just, obviously happy that, I'm able to, do this with you guys today.
Parker Gabriel, The Denver Post.
Hey, Alex, we appreciate you taking time to talk with us today, obviously, given everything that's going on. I'm curious, I know it's fresh and all of that, but I think just between your announcement and you chatting with us, I'm curious how much you've learned about testicular cancer in general over the last week, and whether already you've had thoughts about, sort of advocacy, or at least, because it's a big step just to be willing to sort of tell this story. So what went into that thought process, and if you've even thought about sort of, what that conversation looks like going forward.
Yeah. It's funny, the doctor all week was like, please stop Googling things. So I haven't Googled much. I've tried not to, because obviously you start Googling any kind of cancer, it gets, you can take yourself down a dark rabbit hole pretty quickly. So I haven't done that much. Obviously, we have taken it out, and the pathology is getting checked right now. And I'll know here this week kind of what we're really looking at in the long run for me. But I don't really know much. I just know, what they've said based off of, my blood, and then that's really it. So they're gonna look into, all that stuff, and I'll know more. But 100%. I figured, I found out early, so I 100% want to, as I learn more, be a voice for this. I think it's important. And, I felt all last week, a couple guys knew that I had told, and I feel like it felt like I was almost like contagious in a way. And that's just how I've, I guess, perceived or thought about, cancer, and whether, and so, 100% to kind of take the stigma off of it, and, be an early advocate is, and, be able to, push this for screenings and stuff, I think will be really important in the long run. Because it, obviously mine wasn't me noticing something. It was, a drug test noticing something. But the second, I went and got that looked at, how fast everything has kind of gone along, and, really obviously is going to end up saving my life in the long run, is really important.
Mike Plus, 9 News.
Yeah, Alex, 2 parts. First of all, sad you had to go through this, but pleased to hear that you're going to make a recovery, it sounds like, right? But my question is, how heavy was it to play a game on Thursday night knowing you were going to have surgery to remove a cancerous tumor the next day? Mentally, how was that for you?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting week of emotions for me, because I found out about the drug test the Wednesday before Houston. So there was a lot weighing on me going into even that game, knowing, that I wasn't taking, HCG, this, protein that my body had in it. So I was almost as scared, going into that game more, because at that time it was just my wife and my agent who had known about this. So on Monday, when I, finally got, these results, it was not freeing for me, but a lot more, for me, just in anything in life, I would rather know a game plan and like know the steps moving forward to be able to attack that than anything else. And so when we found out Monday, the first thing I said was, I still want to play Thursday. I think football's always been an outlet for me and always will be. So to be able to play Thursday and, the short week honestly made it better. Tuesday, Wednesday, I got to fully immerse myself in football and not really get this off my mind as much as I could, because we weren't going to know anything till after the surgery anyways, and still, don't 100% know everything. And so the biggest thing for me was, how to get my mind off of it. So the best thing to do that, and obviously, playing Thursday night here and our throwbacks and all that stuff, it makes it easy to, or not easy, but able to block out, everything that was going on in my mind.
Welcome back to the Broncos pod. Troy Rink here from the Denver Post. Hope that gives you at least an idea of what he's going through. I mean, you got to remember, these guys are human. They're amazing athletes and in some ways viewed as gladiators in an arena, but they're still human. And to go what he went through last week and play a football game and play well and then decide, I'm going to be a public face of this, it's not as easy as people think, because once you go out there and become a face of it, there's a responsibility to kind of own it, and it's hard because you're going through your own stuff. So credit to Alex Singleton. All of our good thoughts going to Alex and his family for everything to go well, and get him back on the field. But first and foremost, be healthy. And now we'll get that hard transition to the game. What is one thing now, and how do they address this if they're going to beat the Chiefs? What is one thing offensively beyond the improved play of Bo Nix and the fit with Peyton that we need to see offensively? We're going to get to that after a quick break. Listen, when you face curveballs from family challenges, divorce, legal separation, child support, alimony, custody, you need a lawyer. You need a lawyer who understands human dynamics, the courtroom, and is willing to fight for your rights. You need Ted Shih. Ted's a graduate of Cal Berkeley Law. He brings 40 years of courtroom and 20 years of family law experience to your corner. Ted's been a social worker, a police detective. First and foremost, he's a trial lawyer. He's tried cases across Colorado and the country. Martindale-Hubbell ranks Ted among the top lawyers in the United States. You want an expert to navigate your family challenge? Call Ted. His passion is putting you first. Ted will work to settle your case. He's not afraid to go toe-to-toe in a trial. Ted can be reached at theoshih@aol.com, THEOSHIH@aol.com, or give him a call at 303-475-2981, 303-475-2981. Ted promises to respond to your concerns within 24 hours, 365 days a year. Welcome back to the Broncos pod, folks. Hope you're building up to it, working up a lather to this game. Broncos v. Chiefs. On paper, it's been a mismatch. They, at one point, since at the beginning with that Super Bowl season, through a couple years ago, the Broncos had lost 16 straight games to the Chiefs. That's not a Sweet 16. No. But under Sean Payton, they're 2-2. Did one of those games last year come against the JV? Yes, it did. But that's not the Broncos' fault. You play what's in front of you. They're 2-2 in the last 4. They were 0-16. So they're 2-18 in the last 20. Not great, but 2-2 over the last 4. And if we're being honest, could have very easily beaten the Chiefs, if not should have beaten the Chiefs in Kansas City last year. But, if not for that blocked field goal. So let's be honest about their chances. They match up well against them. And remember, Sean Payton's the one that called out the Chiefs at the end of last season, saying if they had beaten the Bills, they felt really good about their game plan to win that next game, and that was against the Chiefs. Sean Payton, he's the Marlboro man in these kind of situations. He wants all the smoke. Well, and I love that about him, that he wants to take it on. Players, when I talk to him, they love the fact he says stuff that they kind of want to say, talks a little smack. But he would have loved to have this game with Pat Surtain, I'll tell you that. But this is on Sean Payton this week. He has to improve and get the fit going and get the offense going. You watched the Packers these last few nights. You watched the Steelers, and I don't want to play the whataboutism game, but these good teams that fall into these crazy offensive funks. I think the Broncos have 1 touchdown in the last 17 drives. It's just, you have to find ways to be functional. You can't have these droughts for 3 quarters of no offense, where you're leading the league in punts or second in punts and, second top 5 and 3 and outs. That's the other thing. You're going to punt. Can you get a couple first downs to at least play the field position game? Well, one of the main things that has to change, with Sean Payton and this group, and they keep saying it, now it has to happen. And that is, the penalties. They have 83 offensive penalties, the most in football. It's killing their drives. The false starts, the holdings, blocking the back. Pick a number. You can't keep going again. Sean Payton talks about, like, if you look at the history of statistics in the modern era, how many, like, even when he got to the Broncos, look at drives in the 2022 season before he got there, and then 2023 season. How many times did the Broncos score when there was a sack on a drive? In his first season with Russell Wilson was part of the reason it drove him crazy. They had like 2 touchdowns the whole season on drives where Russell Wilson was sacked. And that's his point. It's like, it's not even like a penalty because you lose the down. Well, in some cases, penalties become very similar to that. When you go from 2nd and 6 to 1st and 16 or 1st and 20. The Broncos offense, folks, I think we can all see is not built to play behind the chains. It's not. So first thing that has to happen this week is cleaner football. Both sides of the ball, but offensively, they're not built to overcome penalties. Defensively, they have a chance with the way they play and how aggressive they are to overcome some of their mistakes. Offensively right now, they have enough going against them. They cannot be playing uphill because of penalties. You got to clean it up. And if it were me, and I know they don't listen to this, I would limit some of the personnel changes, simplify some of this stuff. We've talked about it. To me, it's personnel groupings. We don't need 5 people going in. Let's start thinking about 2 and 3 at most. Try to create some more consistency. And, maybe you go the wristband or the way the plays come in. Bo Nix, folks, needs to be able to get the play out sooner, the operation cleaner, to get to the line of scrimmage faster, consistently. We see it at times, but I want him at the line of scrimmage with 12, 13 seconds left to assess the defense, have a chance to, catch his breath instead of screaming at guys. You get over here, you get over there, and now it's 3 seconds left. The defense is teeing off because they're literally reading the clock that's behind the end zone. So their pass rushers and guys are literally getting a track start. All this stuff has to be smoothed out. That it has to happen. So that's the number one thing. You see it on the headline there. They got to cut offensive penalties. Sean Payton addressed it on Monday that we're going to get better. We're going to fix it. And he's right. And he told me a few weeks ago they can't reach their goals getting penalized overall as a team the way they're getting penalized. And he's right. Great teams that get to Super Bowls, win divisions, don't lead the league in penalties. Maybe back in the old days with the 70s Raiders that were so good when you're throwing out 4 or 5 Hall of Famers, you can afford the price of doing business, clotheslining guys and playing beyond the whistle. And that happens with some teams. And we saw some of that with the 15 Broncos and how they changed their image defensively. Those send messages. Those create ramifications throughout a game, and a receiver's not looking to go over the middle because he is going to get absolutely lit up. The pre-snap penalties have got to end, folks. Like, you can't do it. And then we talk more about this with Bo. As that stuff cleans up, then maybe it allows him to relax because he is playing frenetically, almost like he's having like this emotional tantrum in his mind at the position. He's got happy feet. He's getting sped up. With Peyton prefers getting sped up to slow down because slow down means sacks. I get it. I do. But he's getting sped up to where he's missing open receivers and the mind's going too fast. And this is where I think Peyton has to step in and be like, okay, what are you best at? What are you most comfortable with? Because Bo sped up, running around, throwing on the run, not working. It's just not. So how do we make him feel better? Again, for me, it's run. We run, and we'll see what Dobbins is with his foot injury. Establish the run to create play action, bootleg, one side reads, but also quick slants and up tempo. Get Bo consciously into rhythm. Don't force him to fit into the offensive game plan. Do it the other way around. Fit the plan around him, because against the Chiefs in a close game, they're 0-4 in 1-score games this year. That's going to change. The Broncos are 6-2. Last year they were 1-6. So history tells you, I mean, the Chiefs got, let's be honest, they got lucky last year, probably for 4 or 5 games, and they're good in the clutch. So there's every reason to believe they'll be ready to play in a close score game. But you talk about the offense and what needs to change. For me, it's cut the penalties. That's absent of everything else. Clean up the play. Number one. Number two is fit the offense around Bo, not the other way around. Add a little up tempo, one side reads, get him to where, boom, he drops, touch that back foot, that ball's coming out. Because we're seeing him do this. And once you do that as an NFL quarterback, or you're throwing and leaning, your timing gets off, and the entire league focus is on time, on target. He doesn't have great receivers that can just overcome some of this stuff. He's not playing with, all pros. He's got one really good receiver in Sutton and some guys who are on, up and coming with Franklin and with Bryant. But that's what I'm saying is fit the offense around him, not the other way around. Sprinkle in up tempo, and God, would we use some of the middle of the field with slants and just stick routes with receivers, and of course Evan Ingram. Play the Chelsea game against the Chiefs. They're out on everything when things aren't working. It's just stick routes and choice routes and option routes for Travis Kelce to move the sticks. But this is a winnable game because the Chiefs don't run the ball great. You can make them one-dimensional, but when you in the doing so, you have to stay on the field offensively to benefit from that. So play keep away. Force them into being one-dimensional because they don't have to be one-dimensional if you're punting 8 and 9 times. They know they're going to get the ball back, so there's no panic, no urgency. You want to create urgency to them. And that brings us to our final point. Vance Joseph's only allowed a couple touchdowns against the Chiefs the last 3 games he's played against them. He shut them out, the JV, and that game the Broncos lost 16-14 in Kansas City, and then they won the previous one at home. Vance Joseph has a pretty good idea how he wants to match up with Mahomes. Has it changed with Pat Surtain out? Of course it has. But when you look at this game, folks, when you look at how the Chiefs lose when they lose, and they're coming off a bad loss to the Bills. That said, at 5-4, they feel like now they can turn the corner after a bye week, and they're 22-4. Andy reached 22-4 after a bye. In his career, he's 6-1 after a bye with Mahomes. Peyton's been great after a bye. It's not a bye. It was like, well, they're on a bye. They're not on a bye. It's a mini bye. It's totally different. Does it help? Of course it helps. It's not official bye, but it does help. It gives you time to self-scout and reassess. But when you look at this defense, the reason I like the Broncos' chances, even though they're a 4-point underdog at home, I mean, that just speaks to how much respect is given the Chiefs at 5-4, given their history the last 9 years of winning the division, and how much work the Broncos have to do. But when Patrick Mahomes has been at his worst, whether it's, over the last 5 years, you take the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, the Eagles Super Bowl, you take the game last week, games he's not played well, it's pressure. As you attack and attack and attack that offensive line, make him uncomfortable. The receiving core is better than it was earlier in the season with the addition of Rashee Rice. We get it. He's not Jerry Rice, okay? Let's calm down. He's a nice player. But Mahomes has shown if you can pressure him, and they've had issues on their offensive line, if you can pressure him, you can force turnovers, you can force him to be uncomfortable. And they don't have a great run game to kind of get out of that. So that's where when you look at this game, well, why the D and range Betty and comfortable and confident is nobody gets more pressure than the Broncos. Whether it's hits, whether it's sacks, all of it. Nobody does that as well as the Broncos right now. So if they're going to win this game, and it would be crazy to be an upset for a team that's won 10 straight home games, you got to pressure Mahomes, make him uncomfortable, make him one-dimensional, make sure they can't run the ball, and then take your shot. But for all of that work, they have to play complementary football. You can't sabotage yourself on special teams. That has to clean up. You got to eliminate the offensive penalties. You've got to play a clean game and then let it see where it falls. But I can tell you right now, if you have 8, 9, 10 penalties, you're the Broncos, you're not going to beat the Chiefs coming off a bye week. If you punt 8 or 9 times, if your penalties and punts are very similar in terms of near double figures, you're not going to beat a team like the Chiefs. So now's a chance, after a mini bye, to show the world that you are a true contender in the AFC. You win this game, The path is clear. It's an E470 path to your first division title since 2015. And coincidentally, this is the biggest game at that stadium, as we said, since the 2015 season. So it's a huge week. We want to also step back and wish Alex Singleton nothing but positive vibes, prayers for his full recovery following his cancer diagnosis. Hope to see Alex not only healthy, but eventually maybe back on the field this season. This team can win this game if they cut the offensive penalties, play complementary football, and you want to see them make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable. If they can do all that, the Broncos, they got a shot. They got more than a shot. But they've got to do things they haven't been doing for much of the last 4 or 5 weeks, especially offensively. Can they fix that? They have a plan. We all have a plan. As Mike Tyson says, you get punched in the mouth. You got to execute this plan. Broncos country, I can't thank you enough for your support. You guys make it great. You have earned the right for games like this and game weeks like this. You've waited forever, it feels like. Now this week's here. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Broncos v. Chiefs. I'll have more on it later in this week after press conferences with the coach and quarterback and other folks. But it's a huge week. Enjoy it. Look forward to it. And it's going to be fun. I could not do this without Darby Hoggatt, my A1 from day one from Hoggatt Injury Law, Ted Shih's family law practice, and of course, Nate Lundy and Danny Bailey of Mile High Sports. Danny doing all the great work behind the screen. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.